No. Hey. Hey.
Hello,
Morning.
What's up, Jack?
how's it going?
Hey,
All
Tony.
right.
Hey
Oh.
guys, how you doing, Mark?
Still waking up.
What time is it for you?
It is 10:03. But I get up at 7. It still takes me a while to snap out of it some days.
I hear you.
No snow, no new snow there.
Oh, thank God it's melting. Oh God, we're ready. Yeah, I'm ready. We'll still get some, but for the next like month or so, but it won't last every time.
Right. Yeah. Those heavy wet snows and
Mm-hmm.
then you go into mud season, I guess is
Oh, mud season's so long here. Yes, it's not pretty spring, but it'll eventually push through and be lovely, but it takes a bit.
yeah.
Hey, Lisa, Byron's working.
Yes, I'm doing this on the job here.
Good for you.
I'm going to report you.
What's that?
That I'm going to report you.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are good scrubs. I used to have the really light blue ones, and I hated them. And then eventually I got really dark blue ones, and those were cool. I like those, and they were much more comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, these are, I don't know what you call these, but they've got like that stretchy fabric. So,
That's what the blue ones were. I
oh
was like,
man.
oh man, this is so much better.
Oh,
This
these
is so
are,
much better.
ever since COVID, I wear scrubs exclusively now. I don't dress up anymore. It's all scrubs.
You wear it out to dinner and stuff too?
I mean, if I could, I would. Yeah, sure.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, Anu, how you been doing? I haven't seen you in a bit, I don't
Hey
think.
Tony, good morning. Just rolling out of bed. I've been down with the flu and busy with um, my granddaughter. Like my daughter has been traveling, so I've been watching her for last many weeks.
Mm,
Yeah, finally got home. Yeah, I think I missed a lot of the Telegram stuff too. Just been swamped.
mm,
I've been watching your videos on YouTube. It's amazing.
thanks.
Yeah, I love your I just feel like your pointings are very clear,
Mm.
not a lot of fluff around them or no pretty words.
I try to do that on purpose. Yeah, I try
Yeah,
to do that on purpose.
yeah.
I like
I
poetry, and I think poetic stuff is helpful, and like it's nice, and it makes you think in certain ways. But I just don't. It's just not my style. I'm just more like directly in there, like, look at this, you know.
yeah. I there was something you posted on the Zen, which I actually just copied and I read it every day. It was mind blowing. I love the Zen stuff that you post.
Yeah, Zen is sort of my background, if you want to say background. That's where I
Mm.
put most of my Zen and Dzogchen, and I came back to Dzogchen recently, but for years before that, I would look, but I didn't understand it. I was like just reading it, everything that I've read before in the past. Like I read the Shobogenzo in the past, which is Dogen's text, and I mean, even something like the Tao Te Ching. It's like when I read that years ago in my 20s, I would be like, "What?" Like it was like, "Oh, this is cool," but I don't understand it. And so like I'm going back and reading stuff now like that I loved when I was younger but didn't understand, and then now it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's to me, it's all like, oh, this is all like one big thing. I don't understand the difference between Zen or Dzogchen. No
Yeah.
idea. But it, yeah,
It
for me,
doesn't matter all that much. It's got like Dzogchen is Tibetan Buddhism, and then Zen is, you know, Chinese and Japanese, and it's cultural differences and like,
mm,
like even when I look at the text of different cultures, like I don't get into Buddhism or Tibetan Buddhism's like deities and all that kind of stuff. I'm like pragmatic person, period. Like if I'm looking at something, I'm like, does it help me reduce suffering? Does it help someone else? Does it
mm,
make me understand things more or less or whatever way you want to put that? That's
yeah,
all I really care about.
yeah,
Uh, you know, I'm sure some people who are strictly Buddhist or strictly Tibetan Buddhist would not agree with me or say that I should be doing more, but part of this path too comes to be like doing it your own way, you know. The people who started out didn't have all that stuff to do it their own way. You know, they did it their own way.
yeah.
Same with Christianity, you know. There's all Christians that say you have to do this and have to do that. But if
Hmm.
something from Jesus helps you, makes you see something clearly, then I'm all for that, you know. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I think I have a huge advantage. Like my background is, being from India, I was in Hinduism, and you basically, even atheism is a part of Hinduism. It's like devotion is a path, like action is a path, or knowledge, meditation. It's like it's there's it's just like you pick your path and follow that. And I think the way we dealt with all like Jesus and Buddha, we made them all into our deities also. So kind of assimilated. uh,
The way I look at it is I really like some of the Hindu, like I like the Kali energy. I like different things like that. I like the
yeah,
representations. I love the art. I think all that stuff is cool.
yeah,
I just see it all as what happening within the mind. So if it
yeah,
appears as a deity, I don't see it as separate thing that's coming to me. I see it as one whole and as sort of like a representation or like a configuration of consciousness energetically to give a certain point of view or a teaching or and to me that equalizes all of them no matter who it is or what it is. And
yeah.
I just don't put any like system like when I was growing up, I had a real big identity about like I grew up in martial arts since I was 7, so I had a real big identity about the warrior stuff and code of the Bushido code, which is the code of samurai, was really important to me as I was when I was young, and I actually used it as a code, and I liked it for the most part. And it's like I realized later. I mean, I even got tattoos about it on my arm. That's when I
Mm,
got it, and then I realized later, that it's an identity, and that code is within me and not within I'm not within that code. So the code does not I'm not bound by it because I see it as separate or better, greater than me. I see it appearing in me and I can use it, but then I can also question it. And there's a few great movies about that. One in particular is my one of my favorites called Harakiri was about is about that
yeah,
exact thing.
yeah,
But uh, yeah, I just see everything that way now.
yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. I actually just got the Tao Te Ching just yesterday. Finally
Mm,
decided to read the whole thing, and very poetic.
yeah, yeah. Tao Te Ching is really cool if you don't try to figure it out logically, which is what I tried to do for years, if you just read it and kind of wonder about it or just kind of let it rest on you, it'll dawn on you in certain, because the entire book it's full of paradoxes constantly. So it'll make your mind crazy if you try to figure it out paradoxically. But if you just kind of sit back and try to hold two things at once, it teaches you abstract, like how to think abstractly about the world and rules and stuff like that.
Yeah. Does Zen say anything about the energetic body or
Not a
um
whole lot.
Okay.
not from what I've looked into. It just Zen is like so Zen was like I'm not an expert on Zen by any means, but Zen kind of took Buddhism and said, we're dropping all that other stuff. We're dropping all the deities and all the what is it, the hell realms. We're dropping all of that stuff and we're just it's just pointing. Zen is just like sit here and look and point. It's
Hmm.
like that's why it appealed to me because it dropped everything except it's like the most pragmatic thing. And it
Yeah.
doesn't give
So
you anything to grab onto.
yeah.
Yeah.
What was the most helpful thing to you in your journey
With Zen or just in general.
in general?
God, I mean, there's been so many points in time when something was so helpful to me that the first time that the first time that I realized uh, that I was rebelling against the world, and then when I realized my mind was running me, and I rebelled against that, that's when things really started to take off. Because prior to that, you're a victim, a victim of separation, and so the first time that I really got like, because I had a lot of like I was very rebellious, especially when I got into high school is when it really turned on the rebellion, and then it never stopped. And I was really rebellious against institutions and parents and all kinds of things like that, religion. And then I realized one day from depression and all that stuff how much I was believing my mind. And then I rebelled against that, which was great in a way to change that, to turn the other direction. But it also obviously turned the mind into a battleground, which was also a mistake. But it was helpful in that moment. And then later I had to realize also that the mind is not a battleground. It's just doing what it does, which is why I talk so much now about not judging and not making your thoughts something you fight against. I'm trying to short circuit all of that for people so they don't have to do all the shit I went through for all those
Yeah.
years battling and turning my mind into a hellscape, trying to battle it. And I mean, just think about that, how crazy that is to do that. But I did it for a long time, but I didn't know any
Yeah.
better. I just didn't know.
Yeah.
But that shows you how a fixation or a
Mhm,
belief,
mhm.
one belief or a fixation can really derail you, and take you into like a cul-de-sac for a long time.
You say that, Tony, that, oh, I went through this, and I heard Paul Hederman say the same thing. He said, I did like years of meditation. I did. And so you don't have to. But I always think, like, is that really true? Maybe, all of us actually have to go through all of those hellscapes, or is it, honestly, I always wonder when people who have actually done a lot of work and then afterward will say, oh, but you don't need to. I always wonder about that.
Well,
Um,
I don't necessarily say you don't need to, but I say like meditation and inquiry is really your mind, like all strategies fail. So with meditation, you try and try and try, but you're always coming from the perspective of Anu is going to sit down and meditate and get something out of it.
mhm,
So meditation teaches you that that's not going to work. So it doesn't you don't do meditation and then reach a realization. You do
right.
meditation to realize you're not in control of that. And then you let go and then maybe a realization happens. Or at least you let go of some beliefs about certain things but like if you take one belief, like I was going to make a video about this, like if you take one belief in when you have a sit and you sit down with meditation and in your automatic view every time you sit is I'm sitting down and I'm going to meditate so I can realize the truth. You're already you're for one, you got a belief in separation. For two, you're got a belief that I'm going to do this and it's going to give me something. It's like when you do meditate, you start with all these beliefs that are just like I posted that little short thing in the group yesterday. I don't remember what it said now, but it's something about I'm sitting or I'm not doing. It's like that simple. It's like all the beliefs and all the views make it complicated. But that's why everybody, when some teachers will say, oh, this is really so simple. It's simplicity itself, because the actual views and beliefs you take on is what takes it into the maze and makes it super complicated. And then you're like, what's going on? And you're lost in the maze. But a single right seeing of something can collapse an
Mm.
entire maze of beliefs and ideas that you had about something, and then can make it like, whoa.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah. But see, the entire time that you're doing that or you're having those ideas, you are already reality. And
Yeah.
that's why it's always like everybody's simply always awake, because it is awakeness covering itself with
Hmm.
ideas and beliefs and thoughts about reality that are ultimately not true. It's like, and that's what's funny too, is paradoxical about this stuff later on too, is every view is both true and not true. So you could take on a view of materialism and you could say, "Oh, this is the way it is." And from a certain point of view, in the solidity of the what it appears to be an experience, yes, materialism is true. But also from another point of view, it isn't. And you could do the same thing with every like solipsism, every philosophy in one way, from one perspective, free will from one perspective is true, and from another perspective, it isn't.
Yeah.
And when you really get in deep of this stuff, you just one of the reasons why I get so humbled is because it's such a perfect system, a perfect setup. And it's
Yeah.
funny how humans think we're going to get to the bottom of, or like we're going to solve it and we're going to control it. And like science, like we're going to solve it, we're going to control it, and we're going to make it useful for us. And it's like that very thought it just covers up the whole. It's so fascinating and so miraculously perfect that when you see it like that, it's so humbling that you're like, oh my God, like we don't even know nothing. And that's why too, with like other ideas that are off, like parallel universes or parallel lives or whatever, blah 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 blah. It's like, yeah, I believe anything could be possible. It's like you don't even know what you know until what you don't know until you know it. So how can you ever say, oh, it's going to be that? How can you ever make a conclusion? It's like a couple weeks ago when I was talking about that Karate Kid was one of my favorite movies growing up. And then recently I saw the AI thing, and it wasn't perfect, but it was close enough that I saw Karate Kid movie being played out in a completely different way. Now, my entire life until 2 weeks ago, or until AI started becoming a thing, it didn't even enter my mind that I could be able to watch that movie in a different way. It's been filmed, it's done, it's been that way for 30 years. It's not going to change. And then I saw that happen, and I was like, they're doing different things, and the actor is dead, but he's doing different things on screen. And you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like that. It's like, I didn't even know that that was a thing until I knew it was a thing. And neither does anybody else. It's like the people, like the bleeding edge of this stuff is like reality is so powerful that it can create whatever, and it can do it at any time. So it's like so funny and humbling for humans. It's such an arrogant view to think we don't know anything. It's such an arrogant view to take that we're going to solve this or we're going to. But I had that view for many years. I was like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to get behind the curtain. I'm going to know what's going on, you know? And it like,
Yeah.
it's just, you just have to be humbled repeatedly. And when you watch people in the world talk so arrogantly about life and say certain, you just giggle because you're like, dude, you just don't, there's just no. It's funny and it's innocent. It's like funny, but it's like, dude, you're tripping me out with this arrogance about life. And like one of the funniest ones to me is Neil deGrasse Tyson. The way he talks about things, he's so
Yeah.
arrogant. He's smothered in arrogance. He thinks he knows everything about everything. And I'm just like, man, you're blinding yourself. But it's fine. It's just a character in a dream, and that's what he's doing. That's what he does, and that's fine. That's what we're all playing out. But it's kind of funny. But I would have no desire to spend any time with him either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like not my kind of person.
Yeah, I've been kind of, in the same place that you're talking about. But what I'm finding is that a lot of motivation to um, like attend a lot of meetings or do a lot of specific stuff is kind of falling away. So mostly it's just kind of sitting around and doing nothing about um
Well, like that can be. I mean, that can be. It could be both. It could be good
yeah.
and bad depending on what's going on. So if you're like a beginner or you're just starting to look at yourself and you get a nihilistic view and you're like, ah, I'm not doing any. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, that's not good. But if you've done a lot of searching and you're at a point, even in intermittent points of rest,
Hmm.
where you're like, okay, I've done a lot now. I need to just be still for a while. It makes total sense.
Yeah.
So it's always about the perspective and the view and the every unique point of consciousness in this Zoom right here has their own conditions that set up the way they are right now and what they need. And there's no right way or wrong way for anybody. And it's just constant refining and looking. Life moves, it's impermanent, it's constantly moving. Of course, you have to refine. Of course, you have to constantly. That video I made yesterday or the other day on immediacy, it's like
Yeah.
when you're in
Yeah.
immediacy, you're not making conclusions. You're going with that new thing every moment. And if you start to solidify in thoughts or beliefs or hopes and dreams, suffering, you know what I mean? Because then you're not going with what it is. But
Hmm.
there is a dance there
Yeah.
when you're right there on the edge too of which I do not have a handle on whatsoever, but I do know that there's something to it. And it's something I look into often. There's a dance there right on that edge of creation where, perhaps it can be steered one direction or another, but not through the person, not through you, but from what you might say reality's eyes, then, you know, sort of leaning in or the rolling conditions. I was going to send this quote to Sam because we were talking about this yesterday, but this guy said, unbounded momentum gives rise to experience conditions. Though we cannot name or think or label this arising, its magical display is nothing other than our immediate presence. So that's why I always talk about clear seeing, because as this stuff is coming up in the moment, when you examine a belief happening as it's arising, you are looking through reality's eyes, seeing it do itself in the moment. So if you can get closer to that and you see it happening and realize it's making you suffer, or also realize maybe it's making your life better, then the algorithm adjusts looking from the field, then the algorithm adjusts to that way, or it stops making that condition of suffering because you see something clearly,
Yeah.
and then that changes reality in the moment. So there's not predeterminism there, but there is predeterminism if you believe every thought that you've ever been given by your parents or society and you just follow
Yeah.
that loop. Of course your life is predetermined, right? You're solidified
Yeah.
in a belief loop of your algorithm, and that's it. You're going to live out the way you live out. Your dad beat his wife, you're going to beat yours. Things like that. Unless something changes that condition by seeing, not doing. You can't do something before you see it. You have to see, and then the do happens automatically. Is kind of the way I look at it. And I'm also
Yeah.
open to changing my mind about that if I see something new.
Yeah. Paul Hederman says something about, and I think Course in Miracles says that too, is that your past gets reconfigured in a way.
Mm,
So the moment you have some clarity, in a way, your entire history, you
yeah.
just, million, trillions of things that happened in your life, but you choose to have a certain storyline about it, right? But then the emphasis shifts, and then you see the same thing, the patterns in a very different way. In a way, even your own history is not fixed.
Mm,
Uh, at any moment, you could choose to see it differently. So, yeah, forget about the future. Even your past isn't fixed. It's amazing.
neither one are real, right? Neither one are real. That
That's
there
right.
was I had a guy that I knew in high school, and I wasn't friends with him, but I heard the story, and he told the story in school. But I won't tell every detail. But basically, he grew up hating his father his whole life, and his mother told him all kinds of things about his dad, and he totally believed it. And his dad was in prison, and he believed it, and he wouldn't go see his dad, and he hated him, and he was a mama's boy, and all this stuff. And then when he was about 20 something years old, uh, he said that he his dad got out of prison and came to find him and blah 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 blah. He found out that his mom had lied about all this stuff. And then he found out some very pivotal things that she lied about, and it completely changed his view of his dad. And then he had a great relationship. So that entire past right then was reconfigured because those thoughts and beliefs he had were wrong and can be changed.
Yeah.
You know, it was like very. He told me that at our reunion. It was very interesting. That's just like that was another thing that kind of blew me away. I was like, wow. He felt his way about his dad his whole life, and he didn't have to because now, of course, that complicated his relationship with his mom after that. But it was like, yeah, I don't know. I thought that was a cool story.
Yeah. Hey, welcome back, Lisa. Haven't seen you for a bit.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I got trapped in India on the other side of the war. Man,
Oh
I'm
wow,
telling you what, it was rough. You couldn't move, you couldn't get out. It was really crazy. And I'm glad I finally got home yesterday. I can't tell y'all how much I love the United States now. I mean, India was great, but oof.
Yeah. Not a fun place to be trapped, if you haven't been there before. Yeah.
But it's a little anecdotal thing that I know, yeah, Angelo will say, and yeah, if you're really dedicated and you're really earnest, you will be willing to make a prayer. Um, yeah, show me whatever I need to know. Put me wherever I need to be. I'm ready for whatever it is. And yeah, that prayer came out of his mouth again, even though every time I uttered it in the past couple of years, it's been pretty dramatic before I left. And it delivered in spades, let us say. So, and it was, yeah, I'm very, very grateful for all the difficulties and the confusion and the utter helplessness of it all. Uh, so, yeah.
that statement he made is like that's a full on humbling few statements right there. Put me where I need to be. It's like the path at the beginning is all about what can I get from the path or what can I get from awakening, and then you strip yourself of that, and then it's all giving at the end, or not
Yeah.
the end, but to a certain point,
Yeah. But again, be willing, be utterly willing to take whatever you get because it's not going to be, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, I mean that's right at the very edge of experience is the willing. It's like I've been talking to Kara about doubt thoughts lately, and it's like right there in immediacy when you're looking, the willingness to see that thought happening and not let it just take you away into a belief. That's right. That's earnestness right there, and really, really meaning I'm going to see this. That's drawing a line in the sand that I talk about.
Totally.
And
Yes.
it's not fighting, it's seeing. It's not doing, it's
Mhm.
seeing. But then it's so easy to let that film gloss over and the thought take you, the doubt, and you get all of them. But to actually stay right here is not easy. That
Yeah. And
momentum to carry you away into thought that you've had your whole life is strong. And
and
it's
to
the
stay
loop.
there when
It's
it starts to play out, when it becomes utterly helpless and hopeless, to stay there with it and not get lost back in the just utter despair.
yeah.
uh, to be able to say, oh yeah, of course, and then just to stick with it and still trust. That was the beauty of the trust came forward, and it's like I felt I could see the contrast. I fell back into the sense of separation of I've got to do something about this. I have to act. I need to make this situation better somehow. And
All
it
thoughts.
thank God, yes, thank God it all the realization that that was what was creating the continual downward spiral of the situation became quite obvious. And the minute that realization filtered in, everything turned the corner. and what had been going downhill for 2 solid days like corrected itself in just an hour. But yeah, so it was awesome, and it was so fucking hard. But yeah, I'm not dead, and I made it back.
That's positive, yeah.
It's very positive. Yeah, thanks.
But in that, yeah, in that field, in that immediacy, the whipping up starts, and it's like the whip. You don't resist the whipping, you just see it and you don't move. And the whipping up starts the doubt, the fear, the anger, the thoughts, all those thoughts bubbling, and then it's like, nope, just seeing.
Hmm.
And then eventually that wears it down some. It won't wear down as fast as you want it to. But
Hmm.
the wanting to is also back in thoughts. So you have to see that as well. You see it, it's
Absolutely.
attacking you, it's going from both sides.
Well, that's what I'm saying when I say like the contrast. There was a moment when there was a sort of stepping back and the contrast between following the mind and all the thoughts and the confusion and just being still and trusting. The contrast was so acute, so acute at that moment that there was no denying um, the value in just being still and trusting, trusting it all. So yeah, that was awesome. Thank you, Tony, for that's a good way to put it the way you did.
I even say in that moment when you're looking, trusting is too much.
Well, yeah, I mean it's an overdue that you don't even really need that, right? But
Mhm.
somehow that's kind of how it came to me.
Trusting is like, I'm going to make it what I want still. I'm going to trust that it's going to. No trust, or just like, even that's a sliver away from immediacy. Worrying
I
about
hear you.
not
Yeah,
even doing trust is just like, it is what it is, and I will accept it fully.
yeah, that would be a better way of putting it. Just utter and complete acceptance.
Yeah.
No holes barred. Yeah,
Hmm.
very keen on your part. Yeah, thanks.
Annie or Pete, I don't know who was first. Ladies first.
Hey,
Hey.
off to a good start. Um, Hold on, let me put these on. So I was hoping you could help me with something. I'm trying to find words for it because I know I'm gonna cry. I've been crying so much.
It's okay.
There's just this, there's something there's something I'm looking at that I just can't quite, I want to say figure out, but I'm just thinking about that Zen thing that you just posted. It was like, I'm not going to figure it out with my mind, but I'm just hoping to get some help or direction. And it's hard to even put words to, but it's this like default mode position. It feels like a position that I've been running with. It feels like me for as long as I can remember. And so painful. It's I'm so uncomfortable right now. It's so painful. It feels like it feels like me, like the core of who I am. And it feels like it takes momentum and hard work to kind of like see through it and move away from it. And I know you're probably going to say like you don't need to move away from it, but I'm just trying to say
Correct.
as transparent as possible, so I can really look at it.
Yeah.
But it's like it feels like the second I let my guard down, it's like it solidifies back into this position,
Hmm.
if I'm not working, if I'm not looking, if I'm not continually like combing through all this and like watching all my thoughts and feeling my feelings, and it's just like it just feels like it's almost like I thought I was on a path, and now I'm like, I'm not just going in circles, and I don't feel any further along in some ways than when I started, because this like position has always been there, no matter what.
What's the position?
It's like it's kind of like it feels like an accumulation of like thoughts, beliefs, and feelings. And I guess if I had to put words to it, it would be I am suffering, or I'm always going to suffer, or life is really hard. And I thought that maybe like when I started this path, and for a long time, I'm saying path, but when I started this looking, this searching, that like maybe magically everything was going to be all right, or my problems were going to be solved. But it seems more like the further I get into it, it's like it's so deep, like the suffering is so deep, and it's so like it's like a fucking pit.
Hmm.
It's a pit,
Hmm.
void, and it feels never ending. And I'm just so fucking tired, I'm really tired.
Oh yeah, I know that feeling. Yeah. Well, I think part of what this is your expectations of what the path is and what it will give you is coming to terms with that that's not true and it never was. You know what I mean? That's part of it. So it's like a letdown.
Angry. I feel like duped or something. Like I feel like the beginning, like it was like
But you weren't duped by reality. You were duped by your own belief system, right? So that's what I did when I was younger, is I said, why did you do this to me? And I blamed it on him, and therefore I was in the thought loop. So the seeing that the reality, the field that you are, was never that. It allowed it as part of its expression, but that's the perfection of it, is that it allows it in its expression for everyone to express the way the algorithm expresses the way it expresses based on the beliefs. Um, but the seeing part of it, like for you, it's especially important to not to always reverse it and go into the feeling first instead of letting the thoughts take over and then trying to feel as quickly as you can, go straight into feeling first. Because in some ways, you're coloring your experience of feeling with your belief system at the start. You know what I mean? So to get really good at reversing it immediately and going straight to the feeling, and then maybe also noticing that ocean of aliveness, you know, and then letting the feelings take place in that. And then when you are more calm or when you felt some, then inquiring to the beliefs and the looking.
I mean that's and I yeah, I mean I feel like I mean the thoughts do come in. I am feeling, just feeling every day, just feeling.
Mhm.
And that's not so bad without, that's not bad at all without the thoughts.
Are you doing that in certain designated times? Or are you just
I mean
walking around?
um I mean I in the mornings is just like a natural time that it happens.
Mhm.
And then like throughout the day, but in the morning just is really when it's kind of like I wake up right for it.
Yeah. One of the reasons I made that Ocean of Aliveness video is because Alyssa reminded me how much that helped her when we first started talking. And so I made that video to, like, when you're going around, to notice that as much as you can all the time during the day. And then that kind of trains your experience to not be as contracted. So when those feelings do come up like you're talking about, they feel like they're more in a wider pasture to happen and not like this, where
Yeah.
you feel like, oh, I can't. It's more like you notice that field as often, that ocean of aliveness as often as you can and drop into it as you're doing things. Not necessarily as, I mean, it is a practice, but you can do anything that you're doing and still notice that because it's always there. And
Yeah.
then when you get to the times where you actually sit or in the morning where it can be intense, you've kind of trained your experience, you train the mind to be a wider capacity and awareness of it to take that in without it grabbing you so tightly and then making you believe that that's the case. I think that's why that practice in particular is helpful.
Yeah, no, it has been helpful. And that and I'm not it's like what I'm showing you right now isn't it's what's it just seems like a default mode. Like I come back to it. But it's like if I'm feeling in the ocean of aliveness, as you call it, or like to me it has like an unconditional love kind of feeling, like anything goes. Like any this is all here, so anything goes.
Right.
As like a wholeness type of feeling where when I'm just feeling the feelings with thoughts, it's a fragmented feeling, right? It's a fragmented experience. And this has like a wholeness experience. But as I
Do
said,
you, do
I,
you have a view or a belief in tragedy? Do you have a view or belief that life is a tragedy and always has and always will be?
yeah,
Yeah, that's definitely something to deconstruct right there because, like, in the way you might deconstruct it is look at all the times where I know you're sober, right, for a long time.
yeah,
So, is it a tragedy that you were able to overcome that sobriety or to become sober and stop that path that path of conditions?
no, that wasn't a
It's
trap.
like I know for Alyssa how impactful it was to see that and how much it changed. So is that a tragedy?
No,
No. So you what you do is with a belief is you look for as much as you possibly can the opposite in your life with the birth of your daughter. Is that a tragedy or is that one of the most miraculous things that's ever happened to you? That this is a perspective change. Beliefs are perspectives. So changing the perspective will literally change how you see the projection because the life is a projection of your mind outward. So it will literally change the way you see that. But if you have a deep seated belief in tragedy or that life is sad or you look for the opposites in your experience of where you've seen that that's not the case and you really focus on that and compound it and that allows the mind to see like, oh, I may not be right about that, and then will loosen it up, and then whatever comes becomes loosened will be felt, and then back to the feeling, then inquire, especially if it's a real strong feeling. Now, if it's like a mild feeling and it's like, ugh, doesn't feel so good, but it's not like choking you or grabbing you really hard, then you can inquire at the exact same time, or you can even ask, what is this happening in, and then look back at the field itself where it's coming from. It just depends on the intensity of the feeling too. But I know you have a lot of intense feelings, especially lately. But that's one way I would suggest working with that belief because you know that it's there. I mean, when I said it to you, you admitted it right off the bat. You said, "Yeah, yeah, I do believe that." You didn't even have to look for it.
no, but I do know that like something I've been looking at is that I do reject like happiness or joy or like even saying it, I'm like, ugh. Like I do have a rejection of it because I do feel like I
Why do you reject joy?
well, I feel like I can't afford to like really be in it because I'm just going to be let down again. I'm really
You're always afraid the other shoe's going to drop.
it has always dropped. It
Has it?
feels like it. I mean,
Did
no,
the other shoe drop when your daughter was birthed?
my life isn't bad. I it just
Right.
it's just this like I think because I don't know, maybe because I'm dealing with all the historical stuff.
Well, that's why impermanence is such one of the three doors in Buddhism because the mind doesn't want anything to change. So you saying the other shoe's going to drop means you always expect things to go well for Annie, to go the way you want it to go. You know what I mean? Part of seeing impermanence in yourself and in all things is to become acquainted with and accepting of the impermanence of everything. I mean, someday you will die, someday your daughter will die, all your dogs will die. You know what I mean? It's like that sounds horrible, but that is the fact of impermanence. And
Well,
that's why it's one of the three main things.
I'm in the throes of that right now. I mean, that's what I'm looking at. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I look at every single day.
Hmm.
I
And Annie will not change that fact no matter what she says or screams at the universe. It will not be changed. It is literally the setup of this thing. So, that's why looking at beliefs about this stuff is so important because it gets you there is a weird acceptance there, which also has to do with helplessness and control. Control and helplessness is the real big one. I'm helpless.
Mhm.
That's maybe the biggest one. I mean, it relates to death and control in your life and everything you want. I mean, you know, so you're butting up against that, and it's painful as hell because you want things the way you want them, and life is like, nope, life is impermanent. But you also don't have to take the nihilistic perspective and say, I don't ever get what I want. Ever is a thought in time. Ever, never, always. And you can look at that and counteract it. Byron Katie, this is her whole deal. Is that true? Turn it around. That's her whole deal. And she sold millions of books. I wish I'd have thought of it because then I would have done that. But that's her whole deal is turning around these beliefs that you think it should be a certain way. Shoulds and shouldn'ts.
Yeah,
And that's what you're butting up against with, and it's really painful. And you're like, but why? Why can't I? That is the little me saying, but I want things to go my way. And it just isn't that way.
yeah. No, there's a real feeling of helplessness and panic, and I've been watching the panic. Like when I panic, I've always I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really turn to thought when I panic. There's like an immediate like, oh, I need to figure this out, and
Yeah.
and like, okay, I'm just not going to turn there and just sitting with it. And
That feeling when it says, "Oh, I need to do something about this," or da da da, that is selfing coming out of the field right then and there. So what you do is you have to be in the field and notice that selfing, not go with the selfing.
yeah, no,
You have to notice that.
like,
And then you said, I need to get away from that. You're not running away from it. You're the field. Why do you need to run? You're not running anywhere. You just have to see that for what it is, see it formulating, and really look and see that it is a phantom, that it's a lie.
I
And then
have
you
quite.
stay.
I'm not making them. I'm seeing the move to turn into thought, and
Mhm.
the thing I've that's been programmed to do, and I'm just when I see it, just not doing it, and just really not making a move. I don't know if I feel like I'm in the field per se, but I just not making a move.
You are the field. So you're not in, you don't know if you're in it. You are it.
Okay.
So that's what needs the switch that ultimately needs to happen. But noticing, um, I mean, that is the work, right? I mean, that's what seeing is seeing that. No, but when you're doing, like I said, once again, when I made that practice up with the aliveness, it's like you're I'm trying to create the conditions that someone is not so contracted. So when that happens, they don't automatically get taken away, which is why the practice. I mean, if I make a video on my YouTube, there's a reason. You know what I mean? I don't just don't like make random videos, but it's like it's because I've seen it work in my own life, and then I showed it to Alyssa, and it works in hers, and I want to share it with everybody. But uh, you really definitely need to look at those beliefs about life is tragic or bad or blah 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 blah, because like you work at that pet place, the kennel place or whatever. So when you see a new dog come in and you're playing with it and it's like right there present and you love it and you're having the best time, you can lean into that present immediate experience. And then maybe he gets adopted and you're like, yes. And it's like, that's gratitude. That's perspective that I'm always talking about. I know you learned this in AA because Alyssa tells me about this all the time. That's gratitude and perspective. Now, maybe the dog comes in, maybe there's a dog that's sick, maybe it has to be put down. It's very sad. That's also the other flip side. But then there's also a perspective of that dog at least gets to be put euthanized safely and not in pain, and that's something else to be grateful for. It's it comes down to gratitude for life itself, the way it shows up and not the way you want it to be. Of course, I would love for there to be a safe haven for all dogs in the entire world to come and live and they get magically taken care of and they live out their lives and when they die they fall asleep and they die in their sleep or whatever. But there are dogs everywhere that are not that way and we see them all the time and it's painful to look at and but also taking all that on, you know, taking all that on in a way from a small self can feel overwhelmingly painful. But for Annie at the place she works in immediacy, she's doing everything she can to take care of those dogs the way that they are, and then she lets it go. You have to let it go beyond that because if you don't, you'll go crazy. Like you'll go crazy about the suffering of the world. And like I spent 6 months a couple years ago, probably about a year before the non-dual thing at the retreat. I spent 6 straight months. Every other day, I would get like this huge surge of energy that was like what I described to Angelo as the suffering of the world. It wasn't like I could see my own suffering in there, but I described it to Angelo like the big tornado, and you see the little truck that's flying around in the tornado. It's like that was my suffering, and then I saw all the other, and that was really part of it, and it was like I mean, it was like horrible, horrible feeling. And it went on 6 straight months without let up. And then finally one day it just the conditions stopped making it. And I don't even know why. But I know that at the beginning there wasn't much acceptance. And then towards the end there was a ton of acceptance of it. And I just said, oh, this is just my life now for the meantime. And that's the way it is. And as soon as I truly accepted that and didn't try to negotiate, it pretty much stopped happening right after that.
But like how like when you talk about it, like how you like you were talking in the beginning, how you have to like you had to go through those things, right? I mean, it's
I had to go through them because of the beliefs I had, right? Which
yes.
is why I always harp on beliefs so much. If you
And,
see through the beliefs now, maybe you don't have to do these things as long as someone else does, or maybe you do. I don't know. I'm not in charge of that, but
but like what was your belief about that? About suffering?
um, well, I think in that particular instance, for that 6 months, it may have just been part of seeing the whole mechanism at work, and because I was looking into it. That was my belief. It wasn't necessarily belief in that part of it, but beliefs in my whole life about suffering that I suffered my whole life were certainly based on my beliefs. Then, maybe the belief was like, this is part of the process of awakening, and I believe that. I don't know. I don't remember what. I don't remember why it started 2, 3 years ago, but it was. Josh had the same thing in his own way, and for Josh, it only happened to him at night. But his was like he said he couldn't breathe and he was choking and like could barely talk. He couldn't even talk. And it was like different, mine was not quite like that. It was different, but mine was just all day and stayed all day. I'm
This
not sure why his was at night, but
wakes me up at night. Like this
yeah.
stuff, this wakes me up at night. This suffering, and I know what you mean. Like sometimes it's mine, sometimes it's just pure suffering. I don't know if it's every. I mean, it wakes me up at night.
But have you ever fully been like, yeah, okay, I don't care? Or have you always been like, why is this happening? I don't want this.
I don't know if I've been like I don't care. I'm just like okay, I guess it's here. I'm gonna feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why it's showing up for you exactly, but it could be some of it could be old suffering or old ideas from before sobriety, for all I know. I don't know. I don't know like what your life was like or what it's been like since then, but I do know that you have a belief, like you said, and all I can really do is point that, oh, but we've already just seen talking to you that there are other ways to look at that takes away that belief. I think that's one of the things you should really focus on
Okay.
for the time being, because you know that's a clear-cut belief. Because you said that immediately, like you recognized it. It's not a hidden belief. So it can certainly be worked on and looked at. And, you know, noticing that perspective and gratitude will create more and more of that. And that will change your algorithm to that tragic idea. And it won't do it tomorrow. But if you keep looking at it and seeing the ways that that belief is not true, it will change over time. It's happened every single time I've looked at any belief of mine, but it may not happen in the timeline that you want it to, like in a week or something, you know, or it might. I mean, I don't know. It depends. If you see a belief truly, really clearly in one go, like, and you really, really see the suffer, I don't know what makes it do that, but that's happened to me before too. Energy and belief, the thing is super weird and funky and like powerful, you know.
Mm,
But
okay.
the time there's been times when I've really seen a belief really clearly, and I've had an energy there that wasn't comfortable, but I've really seen it really clearly, and then that energy disappeared, and I was like, whoa. And that's part of when I always talk about the power is here, and the attention given to something is the power extending out into that. Like a thought itself is an energetic occurrence, mysterious occurrence. The content that it's flavored with is our attention given to it. When it's taken back away, thought is just a container, and then the whatever meanings that's in it, the content. Um, the first time I saw that, and then the energy dispersed. Like I told you before, I don't know if I told you here in the one-on-one, but I told you before about sitting on the couch, and I had that one time, the first time I ever truly went through a an emotion and it vanished in like 1 second, and it was so hard. The minute before, I was like, oh, there's an emptiness here. This is not solidified at all. This is something related to my beliefs about it and my setting up of reality. And it can change that fast. That's weird. Why? And you get extremely curious about that. And I did after that. And everything I did after that got way easier. All the shadow work stuff, all the parts work, talking to my younger self, bringing it into my experience, all that stuff got so much easier. And I started, you know, the whole going back into your 6 year old self. And then I said, no, I'm bringing the 6 year old identity into this field and letting it feel and play and do whatever it wants. That was my own kind of thing because it made sense to me. And that made it much more powerful instead of just following some instruction that someone else gave me. So I give that instruction, and then maybe somebody uses it and it works, and maybe someone goes tweaks it and says, "Oh, this works better for me," and that's totally fine. All I care about is it works. Like I said, I'm pragmatic, not dogmatic. So, um, I would start with those beliefs, that belief in particular, and pay special attention to that instead of looking all around for 2 more weeks and saying, what's going on with everything? Narrow it down to that belief, work with that belief for a week, and then report in the Telegram about what's happening there. And then we can talk about it further and refine it and keep it going.
Okay, yeah. I'll do that and I'll report back. Thanks, Tony.
Sometimes we can, when we're looking at beliefs or we're looking at emotions, we can try to look at everything at once and try to be like, I really want to solve this. And this comes down to I want what I want. Taking one belief at a time that you've actually discovered and really looking at it with a fine-tooth comb. That's how, I mean, you see Sean doing that in the group when he types and then he'll go away for a couple of days and then he'll type this long thing. And then I'll say, what about this? What about this? He's like, oh God, I didn't even see that. And then that's my specific idea for the design of this group. It's one of the reasons that's the reason I created it. Cause I thought that will be helpful. That's what I mean. He's like looking at one particular thing, not trying to solve the whole puzzle, taking one thing out of your algorithm, looking at it intensely, breaking it apart and see what happens. And then that will show you webs of all kinds of other beliefs and ideas will come out of that, or they'll collapse and you won't even have to look at them. That's happened to me too. But if you have a belief in tragedy and negative thinking, and I had that belief, I had a very negative view of the world back then, very negative. And there's just no way around it other than tearing it apart and looking at it and why it happened. It will not go away by itself. And that's perfect because that's how you experience life. If it was easily torn away, then life would be chaos, right? You would be constantly changing everything. But it slows down enough to have that and the opportunity to look at it and see, oh, this is what builds it. It's like it's neutral, but it can be changed. And if it wasn't neutral, it wouldn't be perfect. But because the unconditioned allows anything, like you said, to happen, that gives the power back to the field and not to little Annie. So
Thank-
look at that belief in particular,
Okay.
and then report back and see what you find out about it.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
I think it's Pete, right?
Hey, everybody. I just wanted to kind of chime in. I mean, what you opened the meeting with, I resonate with that. I've been in the spiritual marketplace for like 20 years, and I'm more confused now than anything. And I feel like I'm just starting completely over again, but just with more concepts that, I've added in there. Um, it's just a lot of confusion, a lot of emotion right now. Annie, I relate to your share. I'm an animal lover too. I just lost the last of five almost a year ago now, and but yeah, it's I still feel like I need to do something about it. So I mean, going down at like core beliefs, I don't know what's going on. I'm just sharing so you can all get a feel for where I'm at and to face a couple fears. But I'm like I said, I'm confused. I don't know where to go for this. And since I found you guys, it's like I don't know, kind of like a truth IV dripping in a little bit, but there's still a lot of confusion around it. And my experience is getting a little lighter, um, you know. So I think things are dropping away, but it's coming at me so fast. Um, so I just, yeah, just like I said, I just wanted to chime in. There's a lot of energy here right now. I got here triggered. Um, so I don't know how to even articulate my questions at this point. So I just want to put myself out there. So
Hey, cool.
I appreciate you guys.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you something in a second. I just want to make a comment.